Okay, great. Well, we have Anand Radhakrishnan, and he's ISB batch 2012. And Anand is in the global leadership team at Accenture, and they look after like 450,000 people in 58 countries. So Anand has been doing a lot of research on what really, the best companies in the world are doing with respect to leadership development. So it'll be great to hear from you. You sound like you're on the cutting edge, Anand. So just tell me, what is the most exciting part of what you guys are learning, what you guys are rolling out just now?
I'll do that. Awesome to be here talking to you, Kanish. Clarification, by the way, global leadership development, not global leadership yet.
Oh, okay, right.
I think a very strong realization the past 1 year I've spent in the company and in this field is that is the way in which we are functioning right now, humanity overall place itself, it's in a big bubble.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say it is because we seem to be operating and functioning in a way which seems to us to be pretty good and useful to us, but the truth is that it couldn't have been more unsustainable.
Right.
And that's a huge risk that we're running as not just individuals and companies, but humanity overall, that the way in which we work, function, live, therefore,
right,
it's unsustainable. We won't go too far with this.
So, sustainability in the point of view of the environment we all understand, and tell me from a point of view of leadership development for organizations, for individuals, what do you mean by sustainability of like individuals?
So let's look at it this way, that you have individuals today who are working hard for themselves, for their companies, and what that's leading to is significant burnout.
Right.
And I'm not just saying in a way that it's nice to be fit and nice to be happy and nice, but the way that if you don't do it, you won't be productive.
Right.
And the way the workforce is functioning right now, the entire workforce is operating this way, which means tomorrow the companies will not have people who are actively working the right way, and then you'll have bad products, bad solutions, all of that put together.
Right. And so what are the elements of like creating sustainability for people? So have you guys broken it down and further than that?
Yeah, so as I've done work in Accenture, other places I've seen, I think the first thing that we need to really ask ourselves is what is the purpose?
Right.
That why are we doing what we're doing? And I think that pausing for a bit and asking that question is very important.
Right.
It both from the way in which we see the cumulative of the work we have done, as well as the day-to-day experiences we have.
Right.
It's very important.
And what are companies doing to make the purpose more? I mean, everybody knows this. You should know the purpose of your work and stuff. So at an overall level, I think everybody understands that. What have you seen in terms of best practice and what you guys are trying, for example, to make that clearer for people or make them more linked to the purpose?
So there are two things. One is the way the world is operating more and more complex. It gets difficult to see what you are doing with what the outcome is at the end of the day.
Right.
I mean, we all know that it's all towards customer satisfaction, but then finally there is a better purpose you're serving, right? They're also serving someone else, for instance. So one thing that we have seen, it's a necessity, is to help individuals understand how their specific tasks connect with the big picture.
Right.
Now at certain levels of management this becomes evident, but where is the majority of your workforce, right? If you're a manager in your team, you can't have team members who are wondering what you're doing. Right. They'll see their tasks as boring, as repetitive and meaningless.
Right.
The moment you connect it to the bigger picture, you have a better chance of having them more connected to the purpose.
Right. Actually, I remember when I was an auditor at Arthur Andersen, and I used to find that really boring because I felt like I'm just ticking boxes and checking what other people have done, and where's the value that I'm creating. And I had a mentoring conversation with one of the partners who was obviously very successful over there. And he said that he found the work very meaningful. And I said, I don't get it. Why do you find this meaningful? All we're doing is checking boxes. And he said, well, Kanish, I feel that I'm the guardian of the system. In a certain way, I check to make sure that people are presenting themselves fairly and accurately and honestly. And if we don't have that sort of transparency and trust on the numbers that companies are putting out, there are lots of frauds and stuff, but the entire trust that the entire world has on the financial system just evaporates. And prosperity is a function of that trust and belief that we have in what we're seeing. And so he saw his work in a very different way from the way I saw it, And even at Hindustan Levers, I felt like, it wasn't so much about selling the cosmetics for me, because I was at Hindustan Levers and I didn't find that exciting, but feeling that I'm working for a company that follows the rules, that kind of contributes to the economy, that provides livelihood, that, operates within the parameters of the law, that was meaningful to me, and I felt like I'm making the country a better place by making a good company better. So for me, that was important, but as an auditor, I didn't have that. What have you seen that companies can do that can help people, see that purpose? So you said make the linkages clear. Are there any kind of examples you can make that you've seen?
Sure. So I think one part is to keep reiterating the fact, exactly what you said, that what's the end objective of what we're trying to do. And I think making that more and more clear is very important.
Right.
A lot of businesses today, they're either B2C, B2B, for instance.
Right.
If you look at a B2B example, for instance, right, it's less evident as to what you're impacting. You're impacting your client, who's impacting further someone else, who's impacting further someone else. If you see that chain, it's important for companies and leads to make that chain very clear to people.
Right.
But that's only one part of it. The other part that's important is how do you connect the day-to-day tasks to something that you personally aspire for? So purpose is not just the organizational purpose, but also your life purpose as to what work you'd like to do and what you'd like to leave behind, for instance, right? If you think of it that way. So here is where the point of strengths comes into picture.
Right.
Are you doing what you're enjoying?
Right.
And with strengths, it's all about ease, enjoyment, excitement, excellence. It's a very strong combination of positives.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's important for two things to happen. One is for individuals not to see their work as static, that which can't be changed, but to shape in a way that they do it the best.
Right.
The second part is for leads to understand, and managers to understand that, hey, if here is what my person likes, how can I shape the work for him or her accordingly?
Okay.
And that adds a lot to the purpose.
So two things I'm hearing. One is make the links clear between what you're actually doing and the overall purpose of the company, how you fit in, and also create a space where you can bring your unique strengths to the role, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that's very interesting, because when I was at HUL, I remember I was a little concerned as a sales manager, saying, do I need to be really aggressive to drive sales? I feel like a lot of people are very aggressive and assertive. And one of my mentors told me, Kanishka, you don't need to be assertive to be a great sales manager. By having a crisp, clear conversations, you can be far more effective. And it just took the pressure off. Like, I don't need to change my personality. I can use my strengths, which are going to be slightly different. So that made it much more easier, and I felt I could connect with the work because I didn't have to be who I didn't need to be.
Absolutely.
So I really hear what you're saying. The second thing that you said is, one is purpose. Another thing you mentioned was about fitness, right? Or health, etc. So tell me a little bit about that. What are companies doing in that area to ensure that people are getting the breaks or whatever that they need?
Let's look at it two ways. Let's look at mental health and physical health both. Let's talk about the mental part, because knowledge economy, your mind is what leads to everything, right? I think if there is one area of risk very, very heavy today, it's that. That how are our minds, which are our primary tools to work, how useful they are. I'm not to say that cognitively we are weak, but look at the distractions around us, right? As folks are watching this video, they might be getting 2-3 pings by the side.
Right.
And they might be doing this while they're doing something else, for instance. Right? And that's all of us at this point of time. Our distractions are immense and can't be avoided, perhaps. Right? That's impacting productivity like never before. And we also want to be innovative, creative. Look at the paradox. Innovative, creative, one end, terribly distracted the other end. What do you do?
So illustrate us. How would you kind of illustrate? Everybody knows, we need to focus on our work, but how can you really get people to see that? I mean, I get what you're saying, but
Right. Okay. Why don't we try something? In which case, I'm going to ask our viewers to play along with us at this point of time. Apart just from watching, let's do something else, right? So pause for a second, guys, if you want, and pick up a piece of pen and paper. Same old tools. No mobile phone right now, at least to do this task. Take a pen and paper, and here's what you do. Very simple exercise. I want you to write 2 lines. The first line goes like this. You have to write, I am a great multitasker. I'm a great multitasker. Pause and write that line. Once you come back, write the second line, which is a string of numbers 1 to 20. 1 to 20, standard, good old, right? Do that. Pause it, do it. Okay, now that you're back, let's do it this way. Now, similar activity, slight difference. Write the first letter of the first sentence, and immediately after you write I, go to the next line and write 1. Switch back to the first line, write A, come back and write 2. Got it? Now do it. Great. Now that you're back, how did it feel?
Yeah, it must have taken a long. That really actually strikes me that, if you try to switch things, then everything becomes a little slower. So, okay, so how do people create a space? Because, of course, they don't want to become distracted. There are external demands that make them distracted. So how can people, what have you seen that people do that they can help them, focus?
Good old discipline, perhaps to some extent, but if that were not enough, I think here are the things. I think the idea is that inadvertently distraction comes about. So one is, of course, you keep your own resources in place so that they're not distracting you. Your cell phone is a strong resource for you. Keep it away while you're doing intense work, for instance. Right? That discipline is necessary. It can't just be avoided. Second thing, if you're working in an office, there are 20 people around you, you interact with them often, figure out if you can signal in ways that this is my time where I have to do deep work.
Right.
If you're a lead especially, if you want to be nice to your team members, of course you want them to come to you, ask questions, and you want to help them clarify those doubts, right? But you can't do it 24 hours a day. Yeah. You've got to sort of figure out time when you say that, hey, you know what, this is a time when I do my work, signaling to people that you can't be distracted, for instance, right? Find the best time of the day that suits you the best. If you're a night person, work at night if you want to, no problem. If you're a morning person, pick up the best piece of your work in the morning. That's when you're most focused.
You have a sign in your thing that says, man at work or woman at work, please do not disturb. So two things what I hear is like, A, have your phone off, work on the hours that work best for you on deep work. And thirdly, actually, three things, and make it clear to people, have conversations saying, hey, this time is really important that I focus on this. Could you please, I'll get back at this time. So those three things I'm hearing. The third thing you mentioned was about physical fitness. So, we're nearly at the end of our time. So any final words you have about what you've seen about how companies can ensure people are getting the downtime they need and what people can do differently?
I think one is, let's go back to data, right? We all love to measure productivity by how much time are we spending in utilization, project and revenue time.
Yeah.
I've seen companies measuring how much leave time are you using.
Wow.
And we have seen research say that a lot of people don't even use half their leave time.
Right.
We all know it, right?
Yeah.
But now that companies know it, can something happen around it? The reason why this time is important is because of this. If you don't have time to solve a problem, which is of time itself, then you're nowhere. You're in that wheel like that guinea pig running around and you'll never stop.
So you're saying that companies will, if they ensure that people are taking time off, yes, in the short term for that 1 year, maybe they'll get a few days less work from these people, but over the long time, those people are more engaged. So the long-term benefits of people who are engaged staying in your company is outweighing, you believe, people taking a few extra days. So force them to take that time and rest and recuperate and come back fresh.
And most importantly, and I'll give an example from Accenture itself, there is a lot of organizational communication and move in that direction that can be sustainable. We call it truly human.
Got it.
We say body, mind, heart and soul.
Right.
Physical fitness, mental alertness, quality of your relations with your people in your office. Right. That's important. And finally, your purpose that we spoke about.
Right.
If organizations won't do it, if you think that that's not possible, then as leads perhaps start doing it. I mean, you're responsible for your own people.
And if you have a message, so when we're at the end of the time, if you had any message for the guys who are watching this video, one thing that they could do differently or one tip that you have that they could kind of start implementing some of this stuff, what would that be, Anand?
I think it'll just be one which is, just be aware of this.
Right.
The moment you get purposeful about your sustainability,
right,
you will know what needs to be done. Okay. There is no need for anyone to come down and preach you on this topic.
Right.
You know it yourself.
Okay, great. So what you're doing not sustainable, and one or two things, maybe not to start too big, just one or two things that you can do differently going forward that you think will make work more meaningful and happy and sustainable. So thank you very much for watching the video, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Kanishka.